I'm Katie, which is terrible.
And I'm Giba, which is a totally normal name. Don't question it.
Yes.
That's how you pronounce a name.
Mm-hmm. Truths.
Yes.
Don't question
it. Yeah, and we are
the Ghouls next door.
Mm-hmm. That's what we are.
No way.
Welcome.
Thanks.
To our podcast. Not you. You're not fucking welcome. Welcome to our living room. This is our 17th episode, and it is about activity of the paranormal variety.
Yes.
Which we have encountered.
Yes. Personal experience. Yes. We have all that.
All right. Well, this is a horror podcast. We explore all the spooky things in your life and in our life and on the screen.
Jump scare.
Oh, I just found that footage. We lost our footage and it has now been found.
Mm-hmm. We are found.
Yes.
We were lost.
But now we're found footage. And we talk facts, films, and feelings about the horror genre.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what we do.
That's our whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know? The more you know. We learned a thing, you learned a thing.
Today's episode is going to be about the Paranormal Activity franchise, but more importantly, about found footage.
And why that is scary when you think it's real, and then it's ruined when you find out it's not.
Or you just can keep going and believing it's real.
Yeah. It's kind of like method acting.
Yeah, you just
You method believe.
You method believe.
You just decide it's true,
you
so it is.
You become the believer. So we have talked about haunted houses that were haunted by ghosts.
Like ours.
We've talked about haunted people, haunted by demons.
Me.
And then we have the wonderful Paranormal Activity franchise, which is haunted people with demons in their house.
Yeah.
It's a little complicated. Today we're talking about Paranormal Activity, which some people in the horror world don't like, and a lot of them love.
Well, is it something that they went into it not liking, or like liked in its original form, and then as it developed started to hate it?
I think probably along the lines of that, because like it's kind of, I feel like it's similar to the Saw franchise.
Yeah.
Where it started out and it was obviously this one amazing piece that did so well that
it was just
Hollywood,
like smart, yeah.
Yeah, is like, let's do this more until we beat it to death. We're beating the dead horse or guy with the amputated leg.
Yeah, and not to condone violence against animals. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to beat that dead horse. We want to just let the horse be. And a lot of people feel like they should just, let the horse be by itself. Have a nice long rest. Time.
I think the first one was revolutionary. Because, we've had, and we'll talk more on them, but we've had Blair Witch Project, which we've talked about previously in our witch episode. So we talked about kind of the history of the Blair Witch Project and kind of some of their marketing techniques and how they really drove home that whole idea of it being real, which really kind of made that film what it is, because otherwise it was nothing. Whereas I think with Paranormal Activity, I think it was really clever.
Well, we also watched The Fourth Kind, which was also, we thought was real until the very end when you're like, that's not real.
Yeah. Well, there's quite a few. When I was actually thinking about it myself in investigating this film in this episode, was that there's a lot of found footage films now that exist and are really great. And it spans across the genre. Because we have talked about how there's a lot of subgenres in horror. And found footage is itself a genre, but also, like, there's a zombie found footage film, Diary of the Dead, Jorge Romero's, which is awesome. You also have another, like, kind of paranormal thing with, the Paranormal Activity franchise, Paranormal Entity.
There was that Exorcist movie you watched that was found footage.
Yes, and then also The Visit is found footage from...
Oh, those are the worst.
Yeah, and then there's also Rec, or Record, which is that found footage where it's a reporter who's investigating, or not investigating, she's just, like, hanging out with some firefighters, and then they get a call, and then she goes into this apartment complex, and it's possibly zombies kind of thing, but it's based off of...
Oh, wait, yeah, I know what you're
Quarantine.
talking about.
So Quarantine is the English version of Wreck.
As a child.
There's also VHS, which is like found footage, where they like sneak into this person's house, and then there's a bunch of VHS tapes, and all of those are found footage films, like short. It's like an anthology, but they're like really creepy and also very supernatural.
Yeah,
like it's very like for a series that's found footage. It's almost like reading a book of short stories about like paranormal story, like things like a Neil Gaiman or Joe Hill or something weird, where there's some weird thing that's happening that's completely unnatural, supernatural, and it's fit into this setting that's normal.
Yeah.
So it's super cool in that way. And then one of my all-time favorite horror films, and one that really to this day still fucks me up, and we will talk about, is Creep. Which is...
Yeah, you talk about that movie.
Yeah, my husband made that. And also, remember we watched Unfriended?
Yeah.
That was brilliant. We definitely should possibly touch on that at some point, but it was...
Unfriended, which one was that?
Unfriended.
I definitely remember watching it, but I've thought... You said it was brilliant. I remember it being really dumb.
No, it was. What's brilliant about it was... it takes place where it's completely like you're in a computer screen, like in a Skype
like
session.
Skype, yes.
And so like it's a bunch of friends.
Or Uvu, depending.
Yes, yeah. Because it was a bunch of friends kind of Skyping or video chatting, unlabeled video chatting with each other. And they are killed off because... like
Skirp.
things are getting haunted, or they're being haunted by some presence, which is like a girl who was bullied and
ended up like supposedly killing herself, and like her vengeance is that
and like crazy stupid stuff happens.
Facebook, Uvu, Skype, Skirp, chat.
I just think it was very inventive in it, and that like you're stuck in this computer screen, and there's plenty of like those are some of my favorite video games, are ones where you're literally a computer screen and it's like you hacking and like trying to get like information, and that you're limited to like just this little box almost, and that's what I thought was really interesting. I mean, the whole other part of it's really dumb, but
the plot itself is pretty dumb, but it's really interesting the way they went about it. I would agree.
Yes. Another one is called The Bay, which I definitely want you to watch with me, and it will enlighten you and possibly make you a fellow person who can be afraid with me of isopods. Which is kind of a spoiler.
What is an isopod?
You'll know.
Okay.
But The Bay The Bay is a found footage film that follows like a reporter investigator who's trying to solve this biological disease that like struck this small town on the bay. But it gets crazy. It's just sitting on the dock of there, and it was bad.
And then there's disease.
And on the dock of the bay, getting infected.
Yeah.
And going away. Specifically, Paranormal Activity. Young Gabe had to sign a petition in order to get this film to come to her tiny hometown's theater.
Hey, you were all about it.
Well, it was like, I have always loved horror things, but it was specifically like, I remember it kind of went all over the internet. I think it was like on MySpace, even, like that's how long ago it was. And because it was only showing at certain theaters because it was that like low key.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it, like people protesting it coming to their theaters and stuff like that because it was too scary.
Yeah. The original, like, I remember the original things of it, they didn't show the film for the trailer. They showed the audience and like people leaving or freaking out or whatever.
There was always people like flipping out.
And there was reports that like when it first was shown like to test audiences that people literally walked out, and that Oren, Peli and the rest of them thought it was because the movie was just so bad. But then they like asked these people and they were like, no, I just couldn't take the tension. Like it was too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is funny when you watch it now and you're like, well, whatever. But yeah, I had to like sign a petition. We all had like me and my friends all geared up to go. There's like quite a few of us, but it was, I think, like, rated R. So half of my friends couldn't go. Because if you were under 16, you had to have an adult, and we clearly didn't. So they all bought tickets and had to watch some stupid film. It was about, like, it was also a scary film, but it was, like, about, like, a stepfather that was evil. I don't remember what it was. But I remember it, like, split half of us up. There's actually, like, only 3 of us made it into the actual film. And
that's worse, because then you don't have your crew to, like, help you protect yourselves from the slow camera angles, and Katie and Meekah.
Yeah. And Meekah. Imagine just being in this theater and it's dark. But I was in the theater, I was sandwiched between 2 friends, and I remember by the end of the film, I was literally standing in my seat, like, perched, like, in this, like, squat position, but standing in the seat, pushed up against the wall, because we were all the way in the back, because it was packed, and, like, just being absolutely terrified, because I was like, what is happening? Because it just built up, and then you're there, and everyone's freaking out, and I remember just being like, ah! And then it's like, I remember, like, months later getting it off of, like, Netflix and making my family watch it. In the beginning, when it's so slow, they were, like, kind of mad at me.
And like,
then,
what is this?
Yeah, then when things slowly started getting messed up, that's when they were like, what the hell? And then they were mad at me for a different reason. The good reason.
Because I got the scary.
Yes.
I did not experience it that way. You know, young me was skeptical of every little thing that ever existed. And I thought I was, like, I didn't think I was too cool. But at the same time, I was like, everyone likes this, and I don't like anyone, so, like, I don't trust them.
No.
So, I didn't see it till, like, years after it had come out. I had one friend, and I guess we met in middle school, but it was, like, high school times, I guess, at this point. I don't know when it came out. But she was my horror movie friend, and we would always watch scary movies together every time we hung out. We watched, like, all of them in rapid succession.
Yeah.
Like, we saw 1, 2, 3, like, the whole good and bad, awful times. But, like, the first one, I remember, like, the first round through, I really enjoyed all of them. But I remember watching it with you this time and being like, oh my god, why did I like this? Yeah. At least for the after ones. The first one was still, like, good.
It was decent.
Yeah. And I liked watching the alternate endings. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember really liking them the first time around, and then this time being like, I think I just liked being scared. Didn't really care what was happening on the screen very much when I was younger. So,
yeah, I think that's what
thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's what Paranormal Activity is really good at. And like, say what you want, it's not the greatest film and does not stand up in the test of time after a year succumb to movies like we just named. But they're really good at giving you those jump scares and getting inventive with the fact that they're using found footage and, finding new ways to put things there or to surprise you.
Yeah. And I will say that even though the ones that followed the first one had their, like, kind of dumb moments, they were really creative with, one, the found footage element, but just, like, the really subtle movement things that would just, like, you would see. You even pointed stuff out to me while we were watching it that I just totally did not notice because I'm not the most observant, where, like, a shadow is different, or, like, there was something in the corner that wasn't there before, and, like, you have to pay attention, and, like, that's really cool. And even if it's, like, not the best plot, whatever, it's kind of genius how it is filmed, each one of them, and I respect it a bunch as someone who knows nothing about how to film things.
Facts. Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Yeah, facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
So, found footage is a film where most or all of the work is presented as discovered, as found. It's not cinematic. Found. It has been discovered. Discovered footage. So, generally, the camera is explained. more or less. So like the existence of there being filming, like a film camera or something that's recording events, it has to be established in the narrative why that is there.
Like, why do you always have your camera there, sir?
Yes.
The entire time, even when, like, scary as anything things are happening, your child's life's in danger, but you're still filming.
Yeah. Why do you pick up a camera first and then run into the place where they're screaming?
Yeah.
No, don't do that.
People don't think
rude.
of that. Fight or flight does not indicate that you would grab the camera as you go. Continue.
Fight and flight and camera. Mm-hmm. Fight, flight, film.
Fight,
That's
flight,
film. Yes.
We did it.
Yes. What's that called? Alliteration. Mm-hmm. There we go. So it's so there has to be a reason why things are being filmed. And so generally the cop out in paranormal videos is that they're recording the paranormal activity so that they can have proof. Although, as we found in some of the films, that even though they have proof of undoubtable paranormal existence, they just settle with telling people about it.
Instead of showing them their actual visual proof. Yeah.
The evidence that they are going out of their way to create and make and aren't using it. They're just
that just sounds like humans in general.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I think like 80% of my life is making really good things for people that no one looks at or references or uses. It's like my biggest pet peeve too. So those movies were painful in that element of it.
Yeah,
it's just like I did all this stuff and you didn't. Why did I do it?
Yes. But yeah, so it's in paranormal, that's kind of the way that it is. In Diary of the Dead, they're documenting these zombies. In some films, it's that there's journalistic aspect to it. So you have Wreck, Quarantine, The Bay are people who are, it's generally, it starts out where it seems like this is a different film than it is.
Yeah.
It's like this is just a newscast, like GHOSTWATCH, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. This is just a news story or a piece of information we're giving to you that then grows into something scary. And it's believable because it's such a normal situation that it starts with. And it's believable that if things were getting spooky in your home, that you would go out and buy a camera to document it. That's how you end up on Paranormal Witness.
Reference Adam Ellis.
Yes, you document it. You put it on Twitter.
Yeah, you put it somewhere so that, one, to validate your own experience. Because you're just like, oh my God, what's happening? Am I going insane? I need to know whether or not I'm losing my mind or if this is like something other people are seeing. Yeah. I just feel like there's like a comfort in that like you can have a community around the fact that you're not insane. Yeah. That you're not just seeing things. It's there.
And like sharing it. Yeah, sharing it with someone and then maybe they see things that you're not seeing.
Yeah. That whole like teamwork makes the dream work when you're looking for spooky stuff.
Yes. Hey, listener.
You're welcome. There's
a ghost behind you and we know about it.
It's a child. Because children
are scary. Or there's also the kind of shaky cam, like documentary style. So like Blair Witch Project was a documentary about the Blair Witch. I think what's interesting is like the way things are framed so that they're really how far people can go to make it kind of feel more found footage. Sometimes it's just the gag, it's just the way that it was and it just kind of goes out there. But generally it's tied up at the end with some kind of end remark of like where they are now or what happened or did the police find them or they're still out there, no one knows, kind of leaving that cliffhanger or that bow that's just like this is obviously you're not going to see the ending on camera as efficiently as you would in like a narrative piece because this is found and oftentimes things go on off camera. So by putting that text on the
tragedy, you don't take the camera with you
when you run downstairs because your girlfriend is screaming. Yeah, you don't head to the stairs and then stop, turn around, grab a camera, and then go back downstairs to get her who's screaming. Who previously has established that she's haunted by a demon. Yeah, Meekah. You sound like a Muppet. I'm sorry that's your real name and that's how you said it should be pronounced, but you're wrong.
I think the way it's filmed the first one is genius. And I really like found footage overall just because, one, I feel like things are scarier when they're more relatable, when they seem more real, even if it isn't real, when you have like normal looking people, because then it makes it feel like it could happen to you or that it could be something that you could experience because it seems like it's a real thing. So that makes it scarier in my mind than seeing, what is it called? All those fucking movies we watched. Annabelle or like It. Mm-hmm. Because you can tell that's a movie. Everyone's like perfect, flawless, makeup faced.
Yeah. They wake up like...
They can act their little butts off and none of them are like terrible.
And you recognize them.
Yeah. You're not like annoyed the entire time by everything they say because they're not real people. We're like real people. If that happens in the real world, that's scary. You don't want that in your life. We don't want dear David here.
Nope.
We don't want actual ghosts other than Susan.
Yeah, she's great.
So, it's scary, man. That's how I feel about that.
That's good.
Is that it feels real. And when things are real, that's spooky times.
Yes. And I think it's because on a foundational level, we all kind of believe it.
Yeah.
And like, even though you know this is a film, it's marketed and it's in theaters or whatever, there's still a thrill in like allowing yourself to pretend for a moment, you know? It's just like when you go...
I'd rather think it's real.
Yeah.
For like the experience.
Yeah. It's like when you go to a haunted house, like a attraction. Like you're going, you know that not like that the dressed up serial killer isn't really going to kill you, but it's fun for that fleeting moment when you're in there and you're being chased by that person. Yeah. It's clearly you're safe, and that's what the thrill of horror movies are, is that you are safe.
Except for in a horror movie where the whole point of the movie is that you're not safe.
So one of the first found footage films, Alliteration again, that really kind of set this standard and revolutionized the way that we see found footage now is Cannibal Holocaust. It is a film that tells the story of a missing documentary film crew who had gone to the Amazon to fill cannibal tribes. A rescue mission led by New York University anthropologist Harold Monroe recovers the film crew's lost cans of film, because it's old. Upon viewing the reels, again, because it's old, Monroe is appalled by the team's actions, and after learning their fate, he objects to the station's intent to air the documentary, because the TV station wanted it. So it's kind of like a film within a film, because the film is
them reviewing film.
Yeah, it's like VHS, where it's like there's a film over it where it's these people and they discover the film and now they're watching it and they're analyzing it and they're remarking on it even. So it's kind of like they are with you, the viewer. Yeah. And then you're watching the actual found footage. And with Cannibal Holocaust, it felt very real in that at the time, like it was so over the top. No one knew these actors. They had gone to the Amazon, and there's several very graphic scenes, and they're murdered, and animals are killed, and were actually killed on film, and so it was very believable, and so it was so believable that after it premiered in Italy, it was ordered to be seized by a local magistrate, and the director was arrested on obscenity charges.
Oh, wow. And then he had to be like, no, it's not real though. So like, chill.
Yeah. I believe the actors actually had to come and stand trial to be like, we are alive. We did not actually die on film. But he was charged with making a snuff film, which is a film in which people are killed on camera purely for profit and entertainment purposes, due to the rumors that the actors had been killed. Like, that's what he was getting arrested for. Some of the disturbing scenes in the film included a woman impaled from her vagina to her mouth. Oh my God. Ritualized abortion and gang rape. They were all incredibly graphic. There's also cannibalism. And I think it was just that people not knowing what was going on in the Amazon, and that kind of traveling to the Amazon to, what is the word when white people go there and they try to make you different.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it's called. Well, yeah, colonization is a thing, but I don't think that's to make them different. That's to take their resources and leave them with nothing.
Yeah. Like whatever missionaries did and stuff. But it was pretty much like a lot of like, it was a theme at the time. There is a term for people to go to like the Amazon.
They're like savior mentality, but then they're also like being terrible.
Mm-hmm, and like just taking over and here, look at these savages and
not asking what they can do to like help instead of thinking that they're like the blessing upon their world. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also just like profiteering off of like these animal people essentially. And so it was believable. And he got into a lot of trouble for it. And again, all the animal deaths that were on camera were indeed real.
Well, that's very upsetting. Mm-hmm. Actual animal activist groups that aren't PETA should be very upset.
I do believe a lot of them were upset. And that's another reason why like it's not as esteemed today. Yeah. As like it honestly probably could have been.
If they didn't actually brutally murder animals when they brutally murdered, you can't see my quotes, but quote, people and didn't actually murder them. Yeah. But like had to actually murder the animals. Mm-hmm. I can understand why people would be pissed about that.
Yeah. But that film...
What kind of animals did they kill?
Well, I mean, it's in the Amazon and they were doing all kinds of like sacrifices. So probably like chickens and cows and maybe like snakes.
Okay. As long as it's not like a rhino or something.
I
don't honestly know what animals are in the Amazon. I feel really dumb right now. I feel like maybe
snakes. I feel like.
I mean snakes, yeah, but they're kind of everywhere.
No, they're not in Alaska. We're intelligent.
I have no idea.
Don't know.
Oh God.
I think so. Okay.
Do I need to go back to school? Listen, I work there.
We're just gonna. This film kind of pioneered this found footage movement and allowed films like the Blair Witch Project to exist, which kind of follow that same thing. And you can see a lot of the like similar kind of tropes that are happening within them. And even just like the marketing and putting it out there as if it's real is really where it comes into play. I read something on USA Today. So Jeff Bach, who is a chief analyst for box office trackers exhibitor relations. Exhibitor. He says that Paranormal Activity is guerrilla filmmaking. It has made it hard for a studio to rationalize spending more than $20 million for a movie because found footage movies rely on consumer-grade cameras and no-star casts. There's a creepiness to it that audience are loving. The amateur video element makes it feel like it could happen to anyone. It's reality TV.
That's the things I said.
Yeah, you're just like this guy.
I'm smart.
It's reality TV for the movies. I don't think we're even near the saturation point yet for stories told through the lens of smartphones, Super 8 cameras, and laptop webcams. So that was like when article came out when the third one was coming out. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like this idea that, one, for a found footage film, your camera needs to look and feel like it would be what that person would have bought. Yeah. So like in Paranormal Activity, she remarks that Meekah has a big ass camera. Yeah. Like he's like, what does it look like? She's like, a big ass camera. Why can't we have just like a small one? Yeah. And it's because he's like, they needed to get away with the fact that it's going to be at least decent quality. Yeah. And at the time, that would have been a large camera. Nowadays, there are films that are made completely on your phone. Yeah. There was a Snapchat story film that was made somewhat recently that was also like a horror film. Mm-hmm.
I feel like I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. And so like it's adapting, but so it's cheaper in that like you're not buying a red camera. You're not buying this HD 4K like expensive actual film camera. You could be filming it on your DSLR that you use to take cool selfies or to make your YouTube videos. Yeah. So you're doing that. Then you're also not paying for these big stars who are taking chunks out of your budget. You're finding people who no one knows, and you need to make sure no one knows. And that the fact that like, if they're bad at acting, it's okay. Because it'll just come off as authenticity. Yeah. It's just like, this person just acts like a normal human being. Yeah. I mean, it will, if they're not believable in being a normal human being, I guess that would be a problem. But that's their problem. He was believable.
He was, I'm totally
He was like
kidding.
an annoying boyfriend. We've all had one of those. So Oren Peli kind of talked about how genius it was in that it costs like barely anything to create this film. And they made like so much of it back. That's actually like the second most profitable film, second only to the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
And in some places, it did far better than the Blair Witch Project.
And in terms of filming, it was a very short amount of time that they used to film it, correct? It was like only like
10 days.
A few days, yeah.
Which, as a filmmaker myself, it sounds ridiculous. It was filmed in 10 days in Oren's house. He was not previously a filmmaker at the time. And he just, they just made this film. And the actors, Meekah and Katie, only got $500 for the film when it first came out.
That's crazy.
Because that's, all they had.
Okay, so if anyone's ever asking us to act in a film, that's probably you're like, oh, I don't know about that. As long as it's not porn, you should do it.
Yeah.
Because it might be Paranormal Activity. Yeah. Level of profit.
If anyone asks us to act in their film, first, we're sorry for whatever we do in your film.
I will say that if you
If you ask us.
If you ask me.
If you ask us a question.
I method act, and I will be whatever you tell me to be, but there's no going back. So take that what you want. I might murder you for real.
Okay.
If that's my character.
Okay.
Would Katie do that? I don't know.
No. No, not the new Katie.
What's up, Giba?
No. Another found footage thing I wanted to talk about, because it's just something that was absolutely revolutionary to me.
Say it.
Was GHOSTWATCH. So GHOSTWATCH was a British news program that was meant to look real. Yes. So it came on the real news. Yeah.
Whoa, wait, really?
Yeah, it came on the news.
That's crazy.
In Britain. It was a Halloween thing. And so the premise is that it's a reporter, and they're and they had real British reporters that people knew. You tuned in every day and you watched your reporters.
Oh my gosh.
And today they were doing their normal thing. And so they go to a house and they're like, this house has been reported to be haunted. So for this Halloween special, we're going to go in and report it. And you get to know the fucking camera guy. And it's the one reporter, and she's talking to the kids, and they're like, yeah, the house is haunted. And as the film progresses, it is terrifying, and things are happening, and it gets out of control, and people die. But this is happening on air, so it's the modern day War of the Worlds radio broadcast.
Were people freaking out?
Well, so so before that, they definitely wanted to appear real, but there was a day before where they went into this radio program and explained that it's going to be a drama, but anyone who did not happen to listen to that radio broadcast and just came home to watch their normal thing, people were freaking out. I definitely think that if we were to do a War of the Worlds episode talking about GHOSTWATCH more in depth, would definitely be great. But that's why I totally I was about it.
I will kill Gabe in 10 minutes.
No. No. Is happening. But yeah, so it was the news reporter, they die on camera, the cameraman does, and there's this scary stuff that's happening with the house. And the thing is you see other cameras show up, other reporters show up after all this is happening. It just seems so real.
Yeah.
And it's actually very brilliant. And if you have not watched it, listener, you definitely should. Even if you're not a fan of Paranormal Activity, but just, listen to that.
Even if you have to scour the emptiness of YouTube and the internet.
Yeah, it's out there. It really is. You got to dig a little bit.
Jump scare. So my whole topic is that I'm going to talk to you guys about why jump scares are scary, and I'm going to stop talking like this because it's absolutely terrible. So why are jump scares so effective?
Good question.
I got some answers for you. It's honestly just the power of anticipation.
Yes.
and uncertainty. So that's what Paranormal Activity really plays upon, is like what you can't see, or like silence. I think that was something that was really big, where you didn't know what was happening, or if it was just like really subtle stuff that happened slowly and then escalated. What really got me is with the camera angles, which you always see those in scary movies too, in general. Like, not even found footage ones.
Yeah, like when they open a
cabinet, yeah. You have the freaking mirror, and you open, like, the mirror, and then you to get your fucking toothpaste in there, because you don't keep it next to the sink for some reason, because you put stuff away, you weirdo. And then you close the thing and something's fucking behind you, or you expect,
or the kitchen,
or you expect something to be behind you, and then it's not, and then after that they turn, and then that's it's there. When it happens.
Yeah, like open the fridge, you get your thing, and then it's like the music builds, they close the fridge,
oh,
no
you
one's
forgot
there.
The milk.
Yeah, then you do it again, and again it's still not there, and then you turn, jump scare.
No, it's freaking genius, because you're building that, like, anticipation. When you go into a scary movie, you know scary stuff is gonna happen, so you're like ready for it. You don't go into a scary movie like, oh, I think this is gonna be lovely, I'm gonna have a grand old time, not scared at all. You're gonna go in and expect things to happen. They're gonna freak you out. And the tropes of like the open close cabinet have happened so much that like you're expecting it.
Yeah,
kind of like, I think it's season 5 Game of Thrones, where everyone's just getting murdered left and right, and it's always like a dramatic scene.
People.
That the following season was like messed up for me, because that didn't happen every 5 minutes. I was like, that guy's just looking at him weird. He's just gonna bring out a knife and start murdering people, because that's what happened the other season. So
we're all broken.
Yeah, it's just like you expect it, you're ready for it, because it's just like so commonplace in horror films.
Which I think is great when they don't do exactly it, because you're waiting and then they get you after.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so much better, is because you have that anticipation. You're like, it's gonna happen.
You have that
or like
anticipation.
Oh, I got it. I understood you. I was like, do you not know what the word is? Gabe, I know it's been a long day. Oh, gosh. Okay.
Ooh, that was good. Thank you for helping me, though.
You're welcome.
That was very nice.
You know, I'm a good friend. So it's just like you expect it to be what it is, what it always has been, what you know, and then it's different. And that's scary.
Yeah. And
change.
Definitely Paranormal Activity has a lot of really great jump scares or creativity with their filmmaking. Especially, I think one of my all-time favorite things in a horror film is in Paranormal Activity 3, when the stepdad puts a camera on the revolving head of the fan. Like, they remove the fan component, and then it's just the... What's that word for it?
Freaking genius. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So the camera's oscillating, but it's doing it in this very slow way. And so you have 2 rooms that you're kind of moving between. So while it's like trucking its way over to this room on the right, you're now missing out on whatever's happening to the room on the left. So
and you're
then
like
as it's
so ready for it too.
And it comes back, and then there's nothing. And then it goes back, and then there's nothing. And then it goes back, and And it's just
it's freaking genius.
Really, as soon as he was putting it on, like he put the camera onto that fan, I was freaking out.
Yeah,
I was like, "Are you kidding? Like, that is the craziest thing." And then the whole time you're just like as it's on that scene,
you're just waiting for stuff to happen, because you know you expect it to happen. It's Paranormal Activity. You saw the first one. You know that stuff happens, and like the little corners and the angles, and you got to listen. You got to really open your eyes, pay attention, which I am not good at.
Face with your hands and just peek through.
Yeah. And when it's like what it gets to is that you're like thinking like, okay, they're not going to do it. It's fine. You take your hands down from your freaking eyes, and then it happens. So I don't know. They really just played upon fear in its most simple form. And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what I really like about found footage, especially this version of found footage. Because it's not even just found footage. It's jump scares are everywhere. They're genius in how they're presented. And there's some that like are so subtle you almost miss them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it even better. Because there's like clues the entire time. And like if you're not if you don't have a Gabe with you or a Giba, and Giba's not pointing it out to you,
you might miss it.
You might miss it, like me, Katie, over here.
Another thing, what's important about Paranormal Activity in other found footage is that everything is like, it relies on what's happening in the scene, and that the cuts and the effects are all happening kind of using this very minute editing technique, or just like props and things that are in your environment. So you rely a lot on just like shifting light, or finding these tricks, essentially. So like having the blanket removed from the bed, having the footprints kind of thing, the shadow that's on the door, just the sound of like the footsteps as it's coming up the stairs is honestly one of the scariest moments in the end, because it takes forever. Like, she is coming up each step and she's coming up really heavy, and you're like, you have no idea what's going on, because all the action has been out of the camera's eye for about like far too long, and then you just hear
like
these
murder screaming and then silence, and
silence for a long time.
Love silence in horror films. It's so underplayed. Nothing freaks me out more than no sound. What's happening? Why is it so quiet? Why? But like I love silence in horror films. That builds anticipation. I don't know if just as much, but in an equally genius way as just like camera anticipation that you can create.
Yeah, it's just very inventive, I think. And so, like, a lot of people give these films crap, and, like, you get a lot of films that are just jump scares, and we found that a lot of the reviews were kind of, that a lot of their techniques were overdone by the time you get to, like, 3 and 4 and whatever.
They should have just made the first one. True. That's fine. Yeah. But you can't say the first one is ingenious, considering how quickly they made it, how cheap it was to make it, the simplicity of it, that just people thought it was so scary, and it literally was like, just like, nothing. I'm doing this thing now. Cool. What's up?
Yeah. And it's not till like the last, like, it's not even till like night 5 that anything remotely scary happens. And even then, it was so good at just building up from something so small. But with found footage, you have to get inventive, because you're limited. You're not relying on big effects. You're not relying on this amazing equipment and this phenomenal acting. Everything is so minute and just reliant on what's happening in the screen that you kind of have to give it some props. Give some mad respect.
I feel like you can't not give it respect just because of, one, it's sold really well.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to like it.
So
that's
much
fine. But you got to respect the fact that guy took something that could have just been nothing. Like literally no one could have picked that up. And it became so big that he could milk it and make a franchise out of it. Whatever. The first one was genius. You can't say it wasn't.
It was great.
Agree with me.
I do.
I'm talking to the other people.
Oh.
That are all
agree with her.
With us right now. I agree with her, friends.
Films. We watched some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff.
We watched Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal Activity 3.
And Paranormal Activity Ghost Dimension.
We also watched the second one, but we're not going to talk about it because no
one does. And we've also watched a film that was pretty much exactly the same as Paranormal Activity, with a few different changes. Paranormal Entity, which came out about the same time.
Yeah, and then we watched a lot of reviews of all the Paranormal Activity movies so that we didn't have to watch all of them again, because we've seen them before and knew already.
Yeah.
So.
And it's nothing like the first time.
Yeah. Oh my God,
but if you don't know what Paranormal Activity is,
watch it. But yes, also this.
In 2007, Paranormal Activity, the first one, came out. The plot is, after moving into a suburban home, a couple becomes increasingly disturbed by a nightly demonic presence, which is definitely true. It's the story is Katie has been plagued by this demon since her childhood, but it had kind of placated and went away for a while, and then it came back in this new house. And every night when they go to sleep, that's when weird things start happening. And so Meekah, any normal person would call him Micah, Meekah has started filming the events that are happening. And so the daytime serves as you getting to know these characters and kind of investigating what's going on with Katie.
Yeah.
And then the nighttime is when,
all the weird watching you while you're asleep time happens.
Yeah, a lot of just standing there, kind of moving very subtly as time progresses.
Just plotting your murder.
In shadows.
Look at the facts you have. Use them. Why do you not?
No, yeah, it was. So there's a lot going on, and
don't watch people while they sleep.
When you there's a lot to complain about in Paranormal Activity. Just some things that kind of are mishaps or whatever, and it is cheesy sometimes. But when you're considering the fact that it took 10 days and that was on a minuscule budget, you're like, wow, this is phenomenal.
Also, in like 10 days, your girlfriend just started to act a little weird for. Well,
it took 10 days to film, but I don't think it was 10 days.
How many days
for the
it?
nights?
Okay. It's probably like maybe either longer or shorter. I don't really know. But it escalated like super quickly, technically.
Yeah, after day like 5. But you're kind of following all this time. Things are progressing. They try to get help from this one guy who's like, I only deal with hauntings by ghost. I'm no expert. And then proceeds to then tell you expert advice about demonic hauntings.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know anything, but here's everything I know.
Yeah. And then it's said that that it's following Katie, so even if they leave, it'll follow them.
Yeah.
Although when they try to leave, the demon stops them from doing that. So it's like...
Yeah, like I gotta say, in all of the movies they do that. And it's just like, if it's gonna follow you, I don't think it really matters. You can leave. Why does it care so much? Yeah. Tobi, what's your deal, man?
Yeah, Tobi, he gets a name. He gets a name, which is dumb. But like, yeah,
also,
in the first one,
name for a demon.
In the first one, it's so great in that you're getting this kind of story, and it makes plenty of sense because the backstory is just in the past. It could be whatever you want it to be. And she talks about how her and her sister, there used to be this presence that would sit at the foot of her bed, Katie's, and watch them and made them feel very uncomfortable. And then at one point, their house burned down, and everything that from their previous life burned down in it. And later they found like a picture and it's burnt and it's like a sign that it was from that house. So there's a lot of things that were put into place to make sense of the world that they're weaving in Paranormal Activity 1 that gets absolutely destroyed in the sequels.
Like reworked in a somewhat not believable, mostly not believable way.
Especially because you've already it's already been established. Like, it's been overtly just told to you that the reason why that picture was burnt is because she hasn't seen that picture since she was in that house and it got burnt down. And in Paranormal Activity 2, they burn it themselves. The sister and her husband burn it to transfer Tobi over to her.
Yeah.
But it's like, why has Tobi been obsessed with Christy if he was standing in front of Katie's bed the whole time?
Well, I mean, I did this before where I tried to justify the story, but well, whatever. When you have a very traumatizing childhood, facts change.
No, it was just that it was very specific. Like, she made it a point to say that it was always at the foot of her bed and that it never really bothered her sister. Like, her sister saw it too, but that she never got upset or terrified by it.
But maybe in the transferring, the memory switched.
No, okay. Listen, reach.
I'm just saying.
Did you pull a muscle from how far you had to reach for that?
No.
Do you need some ice?
I'm just trying to...
Like a heating pad?
Trying to give everyone their equal shot, man.
No.
I just want everyone to benefit of the doubt.
And yeah, but then you have Paranormal Activity 3.
They wouldn't lie to us, Gabe.
So, Paranormal Activity 3 follows Katie and Christy, which are the sisters, back in 1988, when they were enjoying their normal, happy childhood at home, but then strange things start going bump in the night, and their stepfather, a wedding videographer, decides to start using his camera to discover the source. Especially since Christy appears to be having conversations with an imaginary friend, Tobi. So this is pretty much like their prequel. Yeah. So this is establishing this is what happened to Katie and why all this stuff happened to her and Christy, because part 2 is about Christy, which also is a prequel.
Yes.
The whole thing. It's very stupid. I don't think it needs to be a prequel. I think it could have existed at the same time.
Yeah.
However, it didn't. Yeah, so the third one is their kind of prequel trying to explain... It's pretty much... the number 3 exists to explain number 2.
Yeah.
Because number 2 came because they were like, look, we made a lot of movie from the first one. What weird stuff can we do again? What was a character that was a reference before? Oh, Christy. Okay, let's give her a story. Then they fucked it up. They fucked up the story real bad in number 2.
And then try to justify it.
So they created number 3 to kind of try to connect those dots. And then they were like, whoa, we fucked this up even more. So then they made number 4 to kind of build off of.
And that one was awful.
Yeah. Number 4 takes place after the first one. And
for some reason.
It doesn't make any sense. So then they fucked it up even more. They dug a bigger hole, a gigantic hole. And then they have Ghost Dimension so that you can try to connect all of those dots, but it's still fucked up. And you know what? You just need to let it rest.
Yeah. Literally the only thing I liked about Ghost Dimension is that girl. The girl was a really good actor for such a little baby. She literally looked like she did claw her fingers into that wall and that she could not be stopped in doing so.
Big-eyed baby. So Paranormal Activity Ghost Dimension is either 5 or 6. I can't really remember how it falls in marked ones. Marked ones is one of them.
Marked ones is before.
Okay, so this is number 6. This one, it follows a man, his wife, and their 7-year-old daughter they're preparing for Christmas in their new home. After finding an old and mysterious camcorder, the husband quickly learns that it can record strange apparitions that are invisible to the naked eye. And when their daughter starts talking to an imaginary friend and displaying strange behavior, the couple soon find themselves in a terrifying battle with a supernatural force, which is Tobi, the stupid name demon.
Yes. And he is a weird blob man.
Oh, yeah. It's like a weird
He's just like
ink
blotch that they just put on the camera and was like, look, blop, something.
Yeah, well, so in the allure of Ghost Dimension and why we watched it was that this camera, so unlike the other found footage films where it was things that you would have, someone would have bought a camera, so it would have practical
They found
abilities.
This one.
They did find this one, and this one is a supernatural camera, and that when it's recording or you're looking through it, you're seeing like this other dimension that's kind of like over it.
Yeah.
So they can see like where there's obviously like some weird being. So you can see Tobi at some point, which is the demon that's been haunting Katie and Christy and now haunting this girl in the future to bring her to, and you know what? I don't really understand why.
Well, I remember when I watched the first time, and the thing I really liked about it is the scenes where they were watching the footage of the girls like being groomed, I guess, to be their evil, possessed, demon-y selves.
Yes.
And that it was the interaction between like the found footage that they're looking at and then their reality.
Yes.
That part I thought was really cool.
Yes.
That they were like, I see a bunch of TVs. I think they're brothers. And there's a child there too, like me.
And then the girl sneezes and they say bless you.
Yeah, like that's creepy. I really liked that part. What I thought was super dumb
was everything
was the ink splotch time. And then they didn't need to do that because there were other times where they showed like images of like shadows or like demon, like the Tobi demon in a somewhat physical form. They didn't need it to be ink blob. Mm-hmm. And then also, like, I really like the little girl. I thought she was a really good actress as a tiny person. Like, I believed that she was being crazy and, like, haunted.
So I'm going to attempt to explain the timeline of Paranormal Activity.
You do it. I believe in you.
I'm going to get real messed up, guys, because it's like it's a web, and I don't have nearly enough red string or pins to put into the wall to connect any dots.
It would be fun, though.
It would be fun.
We need binders.
Crazy. We do. So, here it is. Katie and Christy, they have a grandmother. She is a part of a witch coven.
Yes.
That worships Tobi, which is this demon that will take your firstborn son of the family and do something with his child.
But it's in exchange for something.
Yes.
For like a desire or wish that you have. Yeah. Is that you
wealth or something.
Promise. I don't think it had to be wealth. I think it's just you promise. Kind of like that 3 wishes mentality. You have to sacrifice something. Where like you get the thing you thought you wanted, but it's really a trick. Like you have to sacrifice something, which like is the son, to get something that you want.
Yes. And so the grandmother had been like, sure, you can have my first son. Of course, again, there's a witch coven, which is just very strange to me because it's like, why doesn't anyone else have to make this sacrifice? Anyway, she doesn't have a son. She has a daughter. And her daughter has 2 daughters. And then she's pushing her daughter to have a son in 3, and she's like, no. And then she ends up dying because she's not doing what is needed of her. Mm-hmm. Then there's the 2 girls. So
why didn't she just keep popping out babies, old lady? Jeez.
Right?
Yeah. You could have just did it yourself.
No sense. None of this makes sense. Then the whole time Tobi is like grooming Christy because for some reason it knows that Christy is going to have a son. Because it didn't try to get Katie in 3. It was just after Christy. Mm-hmm. It's hardcore after Christy, and then apparently in between the times of number 3 and number 1, when we see Katie as an adult and she's just getting traumatized in her house and doesn't remember anything, they are being groomed by this creepy like ponytail man who tells them that they need to like have super like telepathic powers to communicate with Tobi, and to also then communicate with the girl from Ghost Dimension and get her because she's going to become a part of their witch coven. So they're in this witch coven, but then everyone forgets about that.
Like she was the key to releasing Tobi.
Yeah. However, we flash to the future because apparently she didn't do a good job as a child. Then she's in the future. She does have a son. And her husband and her husband's oldest daughter and then their kid are living there, and then Tobi's coming after them again. He's haunting their house, and then she, to save her life and her child, then pushes Tobi to her sister by burning the picture and like doing some weird ritual, and then Paranormal Activity 1 happens where Katie has no idea what's going on, then she's being subtly haunted by Tobi. And then he gets her, she murders Meekah, then she leaves that, then goes to her sister's house, steals a kid after murdering everyone, and then goes off, somehow loses the kid into the adoption program. Then then number 4 happens, where he has now been adopted into a lovely little white family with a cool Xbox 360, where they have the cool thing, and you can see like images, and they have like the teen daughter who loves to Skype her boyfriend forever, and that's at one of the documentations. And
he just lifts her up for some reason. You don't know
and
why.
Then just left her there. And so then Katie comes to get the kid. And then the witches are there.
And then there's this other evil kid where you're like, why is he here?
Yeah, they're really like
what's
that
his purpose?
Katie has it. It doesn't make any sense. Like if
where did she get this other kid and somehow failed to have the first kid?
Yeah, if this is the chronology of this event, we're left off that the witches get this kid after all that time. For some reason they lost him. And then what?
I don't know, man.
I'm sorry that I took you on that wild ride. That made no sense.
Also, I feel like I remember when there's Katie and Christy. So when Christy's like basically making the deal with Tobi because he's gonna kill Katie.
Yes.
And she
like, said,
no,
fine, I'll do it.
Fine, I'll do it. And then so she's agreeing to give her whatever son to Tobi. What's messed up is that like she still freaking gives it to Katie later.
Yeah.
Why save her then and then fuck her up later. Like, you did the whole thing to save her. You killed your parents to save her.
They forgot, apparently. It doesn't make any sense. Number one stands alone on its own just fine. It doesn't need a backstory. The backstory she gives in there is backstory enough. And when they made number two, they fucked it all up. Because they try to add things that didn't need to be added. Because it was like, for me, Paranormal Activity 2 is what feels to me like someone who had just heard about Paranormal Activity 1. It was like, that's a cool concept.
And then made a whole different movie.
Someone give me a summary about it, kind of. And then just made it, just kind of went off in his own thing. And just totally neglected the lore that was previously established. And then the people were like, fuck, we fucked it up. No one will notice. We fucked it up. We need to fix this. Here's 3, 4, 5, 6. None of this needed to be tied up. It was fine. We got it. We are good. It did what it needed to do, and then you done fucked it up.
Yeah.
So that's for you.
I agree.
Yeah. So those are the ones that we watched. Yeah. And also, like, don't hate on them, all right? Like,
it had
they
its
are
time.
what they are. Yeah. And it's creative when you think about it.
Yeah. I think it still stands its own if you've only watched it once and aren't going to watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
So it's either why, Tobi?
Like,
because
why?
Like
why? Tobi.
It's the worst. Like, why and like what in the fuck is his whole point? Yeah. What is the whole fucking point of this whole thing?
Why is that his name?
You got the kid, and then what? And then why is that your name?
So, I do not believe that there is a freaking book out there next to Abalam. It says Tobi.
Yeah.
Just not real.
You got all these. You got like Lucifer, Abalam.
You got the fancy
like
names.
Azeroth,
Tobi.
Sephiroth,
Stan.
And then Tobi. And it's just like,
Jerry.
He's probably like the worst demon. Like he's the demon that all the other demons make fun of.
Luca.
Because like you ever get that kid you've been asking for from the 50,000 witches weird, in like that it's park?
His normal names. Ethan.
Yeah.
Demon Ethan. You know how he is.
Yeah. Steer clear. He'll take your kittens.
Yeah. Damn Ethan.
Yep. So why Tobi's if you're mad, and then it's good if it's jump scare.
Jump scare.
Jump scare. What is really good?
Jump scare.
For found footage films.
Jump scare.
Jump scare.
Yeah, jump scare. I fucking love found footage films. Alliteration.
Yes. I love alliteration.
For Tobi, why Tobi?
Why Tobi?
Why? For Paranormal Activities 2 through end.
Why? Why?
Why?
Tobithy.
Paranormal 1, jump scare.
Tobithy, why?
Tobithy? That's not his name. That would be better.
Tobithy.
Tobithy would be better because that's at least one longer.
I think Tobithy just wants to be friends with these little girls. And he just wants to like play tea time with them. And then his boss is like breathing down his neck and is like, you need a sacrifice. He's like, fine. Then he goes to these girls. He's like, listen, I talked to my boss. He says, I need you to tell me that you're going to have a boy. And then the girl's like, no, I don't want to play with you anymore because that's fucking weird, Tobithy. And then she runs away, and then he's like, damn it. And he goes tells his boss, and he's like, you better man up and do what you gotta do. And then he does a spooky thing. And then later he's like, I'm really sorry I had to do that. Listen, they were watching me. Yeah, like, there's an evaluation.
I'm a cool guy, I swear. Like,
my name is Tobi, and I'm a demon.
I have to live up to my demon things.
So why
Abalam's like just like really on my back about this. I have to prove myself as a real demon. My name is Tobi, which people just don't take seriously. Lucifer over there is just laughing at me all the time.
The holidays are super awkward. Yeah. Everyone else has their sacrifices, like with them, and then here I am, and I have, like teddy bears.
Yeah.
Maybe Tobi's just like a pedophile.
I mean, that's what I got out of it.
That kind of feels like what it is.
He just takes
That
little
is kinda
girls.
scary.
That's the whole thing is he takes little girls. And for
He
some
marries
reason,
them.
old women.
But yeah, the first one and found footage films, that is definitely a jump scare.
Yeah, I feel
For
that.
me.
Pick up, put down.
I like the messy hair and no makeup and just being
fucking real. Why
subtly
aren't all movies just
sexualized.
real?
You gotta be subtly sexualized. You're wearing like a t-shirt, but that t-shirt really accentuates your breasts.
Yeah.
Clever.
Yeah.
Do that, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make normal people look normal. I have so many feelings.
Yeah, I see
It's been a
those.
high emotion day.
Yeah, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. I mean, you should spend a lot of money if what you're doing requires a lot of money. Like if you're
Yeah, like,
making
don't
a
be
whole
lazy.
fantastical world, don't skimp out on it with bad effects. But if you're honestly, you can
Be smart, man. Get married and have a son that will be sacrificed to Tobi.
or don't get married and have a daughter who then has to have a son.
And then
And then
murders
she
you.
has an imaginary friend named Tobi. If you have a kid and this kid mentions an imaginary friend named Tobi, punch it in the face. Okay, so don't get married till you're kids.
Or sacrifice them to demons named Tobi. Good
Don't do
night.
it. All right, bye.
Bye.